In the Sun by Sylvia Bramble. This poem is dedicated to Juniper Blessing. In the dark night of winter, I awoke 6 feet under. My roots had not taken, and I knew stagnation meant death in the shell. With keen desire to live, I scraped against the wood and cracked my protective tomb. Dirt invaded my nails. I choked down mud and side soil. My limbs stretched skyward, yet recoiled from sunlight's cruel panopticon. Is it selfish to declare my existence as a flower when many see me as a weed? Why is it me that deserves to take up such space in the warmth of the daytime? But I knew stagnation meant death in the shell, and I ascended through the cracks to greet dawn. But I was planted in no bed of roses. I refused to flourish betwixt concrete underfoot of a careless population. I stretched myself through the dirt. I screamed white hot through mud, all to find suitable soil. I saw uncountable husks of seeds on my way, a constant reminder that stagnation meant death in the shell. I rose, taking the memory of every seed with me into my bed of blossoms. I sprouted like every flower like me, gawky growth with fleeting florets weathering through winter. At the turn of seasons, I learned the dance of blooming, if only to teach sprouts the steps. But it doesn't stop the names. The constant cries of weed buzz like bees in my petals. But stagnation meant death in the shell, so I braced for gray skies and sharpened my thorns. It wasn't enough. Every day, a new uprooting, a new stomp under black leather boots. What does it mean to bloom in the face of such cruelty? Why show our faces to the sun just to be cut? But stagnation meant death in the shell, so I sought survival in community, if only to have people who call me a flower in death. I bawled as I bloomed. It's all I could do, because I refused to be buried again. I refused to let them put me in the ground, because stagnation meant death in the shell, and I grew like the weed. They spat at me like pesticide, hoping to kill that illness inside. I screamed my colors that clashed. My petals demanded stares and side eyes from bugs in the grass. Even on frigid days when spring forgets its warmth and bitter rains threaten to drown, I wept. I see tears down my petals, knowing that all that growing and I could still be drowned out. That in the face of the weather and the cruelty of man, all I can do is bloom. But bloom I do, because stagnation meant death in the shell, because my roots are no longer my own. Intertwined with mine are my sisters and stamens. Our network weaves us together in nine inseparable bonds. What's the strength of dirt to a flower, anyway? We're all only grown through the guidance of those who towered before us. As spring, resplendent in her glory, deigned me to bask in her sun, I wept in her light. I bloomed in spite of snapped stems, of uprooted roses who weren't sharp enough, and of fragile flowers who couldn't survive the climate. And that's all I could do, because I knew stagnation meant death in the shell.